when did you kind of like feel like you were on your way to like doing, you knew you wanted to be an animator from a very young age. When did you feel like, hey mom, I'm doing it, like you don't have to worry about me anymore?
I think that when I started working in the story department at Disney, I think that's where I first felt like this is maybe where I was supposed to be. Because I wanted to work in animation, and of course you're like, oh, I'll be an animator, and that's what I was thinking, I think. But as I animated at CalArts, I could do it. I don't think I was especially great at it. So when I graduated, Disney wasn't hiring at all at that point. And so I went to work at Marvel Productions, where I worked in their model department. And then there was one opening at Disney, and I got a portfolio together, and I got in. But it was to the development department. And I don't think anybody at that point was really sure what development was. Like the guy who was running the department, who was a super nice guy, was, I think, pretty new to it. And I was new to it, so I think we were just trying to figure out what in the world this was. And it was while I was within that department, and they were working on Rescuers Down Under, the producer approached me and asked if I wanted to do some storyboarding for that. And that's when I started working with Brenda Chapman and Joe Ranft, Ed Gombert, Roger Allers, Kirk and Gary, and everybody there that taught me that craft. So that was the turning point for me, I think, was when I started in story.
So people who would go on to basically be Pixar people were early colleagues. I mean, it's interesting how much, it's such a small community, especially around the time you'd gone to CalArts. You must have had, who among your classmates went on to be the other shooting stars?
Oh my gosh, Brenda, I just was visiting her in San Francisco, and I couldn't help but admire her lovely Oscar sitting on her shelf.
You'll get one
as well as many
very
more.
soon.
I mean, Kelly Asbury directed so many things. A lot of people I went to school with went on to direct and work in story. Joe Ranft, I think, could have directed, but he loved story. He thought story was his first best destiny, and he stayed in story. And I think no one, like taught me more than I think Joe. Just watching how he storyboarded, how he was in the room, how he worked in the room. Because I think part of story is the communication that you have to have. You have to all be very honest about, like, the boards. Like, you pitch a board at the end of the week, and you can't just sit there and go, oh, that's great. I mean, that's great isn't gonna work, you know. So everybody has to be pretty critical, but not shut the room down, not shut conversation down. And if you really feel strongly about a story point, I learned how to argue for that story point. You have to make a case for it, a good solid case. It can't just be, well, I like that. Like, I want him to do this at this moment because it amuses me. You can't get away with that. So learning to negotiate a point, and if you can't defend it, having to let it go and work around things.